بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحابته أجمعين اللهم اجعل جمعنا هذا جمعا مرحوما وتفرقنا من بعده تفرقا معصوما ولا تجعل فينا ولا منا شقيا ولا محروما اللهم اجعل عملنا كله صالحا واجعله لوجهك خالصا ولا تجعل فيه لأحد غيرك شيئا. Dear respected brothers and sisters in Islam, we continue our series after Fajr on the book Islamic Manners by Sheikh Abdul Fattah Abdul and we've reached the chapter before the last, chapter 10, the manners of visiting the sick. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to allow us to implement that which we hear today. So first of all, visiting the sick is definitely a sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, and the purpose of it is it shows the mercy of the Muslims towards one another. And it's recorded in the hadith that the Prophet ﷺ told us that Allah Azza wa Jal divided mercy into 100 parts. We hear this hadith a lot, but we usually don't hear the end of it. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala divided mercy into 100 parts. He left one mercy, 99 parts of that mercy he left for the hereafter. And one part of that mercy he left in this world. And the continuation of the hadith, it is from this portion that creatures have mercy towards one another. So it's because of this that we're able to visit one another when we're sick, to have mercy to one another, to help one another. It's all from this one part of mercy that Allah Azza wa Jal. So it is from this portion that creatures have mercy towards one another that a mare would lift her hoof lest it hit her child. And so it's a duty for every Muslim. It's one of the rights of a Muslim towards another. In the very famous hadith, حَقُّ الْمُسْلِمِ عَلَى الْمُسْلِمِ سِتْ. There's 6 rights of a Muslim, we mentioned it before. One of them is that when he gets sick, he is to be visited. And the Prophet ﷺ tells us that a Muslim visiting his ill brethren will continue to be in Khurfa of paradise until he comes back home. So the companions asked, what is a Khurfa? And the Prophet ﷺ, this means the harvest of paradise. So when one visits his sick brother, it's as though he's harvesting. And he'll continue to harvest and reap these good deeds until this person leaves. Another hadith of the Prophet ﷺ is that a visitor walking to visit a patient will be walking into the mercy of Allah. Remember, this is sharing that one part of the mercy. When the visitor sits with the patient, both will be engulfed in Allah's mercy until the visitor's return. And there was a nice practice that Muslims in Andalus, in Muslim Spain, they used to would hire 2 righteous people from every neighborhood whose job is just to visit sick people, to boost their morale, and to make them feel better, and to make dua for them. So something very beautiful. Some of the manners. Number 1, praying for the sick. It's sunnah when one goes to read there's many du'as, but for example, one of them is Allahumma rabban nas adhib al-ba's ishfi anta shafi shifa'an la yughadiru saqaman, which translates to, O Allah, Lord of mankind, take away the suffering, bring about recovery, no cure except your cure, leave no illness behind. And also to encourage the patient one to have, the sick one to have patience. It's funny, even the word English, patient. I mean, we don't really think about it sometimes, but it even comes from the word for patience, you know? Patient, meaning a sick person, meaning this person by default must be patient. Because if they're not, they're going to complain about the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's why the scholars, they recommend when someone wants to complain to Allah, you know, إِنَّمَا أَشْكُو بَثِّي وَحُسْنِي إِلَى اللَّهِ. As Sayyidina Yaqub said, indeed I direct my complaints and my sorrow to Allah only. But the scholars say, and it's recorded that Imam Ahmad, when someone came to visit him, he said, I visited a bishop, another great scholar from his period, and who was sick, and he always used to praise Allah. So he said, go ask him where did he hear it from. He said he would praise Allah before complaining. So he said, I heard it from such and such, I heard it from such and such, I heard it from Ibn Sirin, who's one of the great tabi'een. So Imam Ahmad is recorded to always praise Allah before complaining, because it won't seem as if you're complaining about the decree of Allah. Rather than you're complaining about your situation, because we are the ones in need of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's always important when, as a sick person, when directing your complaints, you start with Alhamdulillah. And that's why a lot of the times in the dua of witr, the Imam will start with Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, Allahumma laka alhamdu kathira, etc., etc., right? Always start with, Oh Allah, to you belongs praise. And then a person directs their complaints. Tomorrow we're going to take the whole session, it's like 7 minutes, explaining what ruqya is. So we said dua. There's also a spiritual dua that a person puts his hands on the place that hurts and he reads certain Quran verses and he blows. That is 100% authentic from the sunnah that many people don't know about at all. So inshallah, we'll take that time tomorrow. I don't want to, spend the time today doing that. I'll go over the rest of the manners, inshallah. Needless to say, making dua is important. Number two, the visit should be very, very, very short. Because the last thing a sick person wants is someone taking time from his sleep or her sleep. So the visit, the scholars say, should be like the period between the two khutbahs. You know, in Salat al-Jum'ah, the Imam sits in the middle. And the Imam sits for how long? 5 seconds? 10 seconds? So it's an exaggeration, but the point is the visit should be very short. And one poet said, when visiting a sick person, make your entrance a goodbye. Meaning you enter, you make dua for the person, you say to them, how are you doing? And then you leave out. It's a very short visit. You know, not making it a very long visit so it can be heavy. That's number one. Number two, a person should look clean and should be someone that when the sick person sees him or her, they feel like their morale is boosted. The worst thing a visiting person can do is enter the room where there's a sick person, not looking clean, and then start talking about politics, start talking about problems at work. You know, start talking about the everyday things that we usually talk about, that raise the blood pressure. You know? Don't open these topics around someone who's sick. And that's why businessmen or executives that are sick, usually the doctors would take away their cell phones from them. Like they would recommend doing this because if they have, especially if they have heart problems, that they're gonna lose it when they talk about their businesses and things like that. So they wanna remove them from that context so they can be around something positive. Also, brothers and sisters, don't go in there and question the person's treatment. Oh, the doctor told you this. You know, my aunt's nephew also had cancer, but the doctor told him not to do that. And you know they passed away 6 months later. This is not good manners when visiting a sick person. You just told them, you know what, you're about to die, and there's no hope for you, and this treatment is very bad. If you're a medical professional, if you're a doctor, then maybe you can speak to him in this capacity and speak to their doctor or something, but in the best of manners. And finally, it's very important, brothers and sisters, in conclusion today, that one really reflects on sickness when they are sick. They reflect on the favors that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have given them, and they also reflect on everything good that Allah Azza wa Jal gave them that they're not thinking about at the time. You know, like Sayyidina Ayyub alayhi salam, when Allah gave him that sickness, he said, well, if Allah Azza wa Jal, you know, took the sickness, He still gave me much more else. So a reflection is one of the main reasons Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests us with sickness. One of them is an expiation of sins, so Allah Azza wa Jal can purify us in this life. Another one so that we can reflect. لَعَلَّهُمْ يَرْجِعُونَ, so that they may return to us, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said. So we ask Allah Azza wa Jal to make us from those that benefit from these words. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.